I think today has got to be the most humid it's been since summer has started. Oh my goodness. Well, I'm here under the shade. My hair is so frizzy. It needs to be dyed. I've got so much grey hair. Anyway, we'll forget about all of that. Let's get into this week's update. I didn't get it on camera, but I'm telling you, these rainbow lorikeets are so cheeky. A couple of them just darted by and they are now eating more of the apples. Let me show you. Do you see the cheeky little chappy there? I'm telling you, if I hadn't bagged up these apples, they would be all gone. Actually, I'm going to show you what they do with the apples a bit later on. But first, let me get back to what's going to be in this week's video. Oh, there they go again. We are going to start off by taking a look. I am being so distracted. There's just heaps of them. We are going to start off by taking a look at some chilies, eggplants and zucchinis that I've got growing. After that, I want to show you some of the new dahlia varieties that have bloomed this week, as well as taking a look at the flower arrangements that I put together to sell as part of my small business Bren's Blooms, and a few other things going on. So please just sit back, relax for a few minutes, and let's get into it now. Welcome to the jungle. The garden has just exploded in growth. Like, these dahlia plants are about 7 foot tall. Granted, they are growing in raised beds, but still. So many more dahlia varieties have opened up this week. This one is called Cornflake. I showed you last Friday, but I've got lots of new ones to show you, so stick around and we'll get into that soon. Let's first take a look at some of the food that I'm growing, starting off with these chilies. There's more growing over here on this plant, 3 or 4, and with the heat now these will ripen to red very soon. And I've spotted a couple more fruit on this Siam chili plant. The great thing about chilies is that you can grow them in pots as well, so they're perfect for small space gardeners. You can pop a couple of containers on your balcony or a small courtyard, and as long as you place them in a full sun position where they get really nice warmth, they will thrive, and this will help your plants to produce in abundance. The eggplants are not looking terribly healthy. I think those little pesky beetles are back. I should really go inside and get my hat. The sun is beaming down on me. I just came on here quickly to say that they're actually called flea beetles, and they can damage plants because they can transfer disease from one plant to the other. Oh, is that a bit of cloud? Oh, that's good. I might keep them up there. There's still a bit of a glare. To manage these organically, you really just need to keep an eye on the eggplants, and if you start seeing the little holes, see if you can find any of the beetles and then just hand pick them off. If you get them early, it won't get out of control. My plants, I need to get in there and have a good look around and see if I can find any more. There are some fruit on a few of the plants, like these here, which are the long striped Lebanese eggplants. And here's the start of a Bonica eggplant. I've already shown you the 2 zucchini plants growing in this patch, the blackjack and Lebanese zucchinis. But I don't think I've shown you the ones growing here. These are called golden zucchinis. There's 2 plants growing in this patch, looking nice. Just take this one off, maybe slightly young, but oh, isn't that pretty? And of course it tastes great too. The front garden where they're growing is an absolute weedy mess. But you know what? If you zoom in, there are a few spots that are actually quite pretty, like these beautiful pink zinnias. Do you know how I've been going on about seed pods over the last few weeks? Well, here's another beautiful one that you can add into flower arrangements. This one is from a flower called Nigella. There's another plant in this patch that has some really nice seed heads. Let's go take a look at them. Growing over here is this Persian cress. I'm going to harvest them all hopefully over the weekend. I'll pick off and save some of these seeds in a paper envelope, and for the rest I'm going to use in dried flower arrangements. I'm a little bit annoyed with myself for not growing more straw flowers this year. I think I might sow a few more seeds, and even if they don't flower for me this summer or autumn, I may get them flowering, those plants, if I can overwinter them. This one here, for anyone who hasn't grown these beautiful flowers before, that's it in the bud stage, and then they eventually open up to look like this. Over the last couple of weeks I've harvested quite a lot of this Queen Anne's lace. Really massive bloom there. This is actually the first one to appear, so I find with this plant usually the first flower is really big, a little bit awkward to, you know, put into flower arrangements, but then every flower after that seems to be slightly smaller, which is a much better size to use in a bouquet. Here's another cut flower that I've been picking for arrangements. This is a celosia. The variety name is Caraway White. And then there's these really beautiful, extremely drought tolerant amaranthus. These are self-seeders, but so I'm not 100% certain of the variety, but by the looks of it, I believe it could be Velvet Curtain. I hope I'm not repeating myself. I'm so sorry if I am, because sometimes I forget what I say each week. But these are a really nice zinnia called Yellow Canary, and I actually use these as a substitute to sunflowers. And here is another substitute to sunflowers. These are Rebecca blooms. There's been a lot of waste over at the apple trees, so these apples are protected from the wildlife, but the wildlife have been coming in and eating the apples, but they haven't been eating all of them. They've just been pecking on them, and then they end up dropping to the ground. Like, look at that. It's very wasteful birds. You need to eat the whole thing if you're going to get started on one. They're right over here beside some seeds that I started last week, and they definitely need a good water. Water them every day in summer, at least I do in my area. I've started some more zinnias, trying to go with more autumnal colours, so hopefully these will be in bloom in autumn. And then there's some sunflowers, more zinnias. Oh, what's in this tray? Let's flick it around and check. Oh, Meteor Zinnia. I think that's a red one as far as I can remember. And then I have some Status here in this one. I'm just going to quickly go through now a few of the new varieties of dahlias which are blooming this week. So this one was labelled as Glenmark Kim. It's a dinner plate dahlia. So dinner plate dahlias can get up to 30 centimeters in size. This one is a bit smaller than that, but let me just put my hand up against it to show you. It's still pretty large. It has these like hot pink, or I think with the label it was described as candy pink petals that fade off into a, you know, paler colour there. I'm not sure, is that Glenmark Dahlia? Because I want to show you, I have a few other dahlias that are growing that do not look like the description on the label, and I tried really hard to be careful with labeling this year. I don't know, I must have got mixed up somewhere along the way. Here's a really good example of what I'm talking about. So this whole bed here full of dahlias, I deliberately tried to sort them out so they're whites and pinks, but then I have this random purpley red flower appear. Got no idea what that is. It's supposed to be Chloe, or at least in my garden journal I've labelled this tuber as Chloe. And then growing beside that one I have this plant labelled as Pam. Now it's still a lovely pink dahlia, looks a bit like a semi-cactus, but that looks nothing like the variety called Pam. Here's another new one this week. It was labelled as Mountain Aurora. It looks slightly like that variety. It's meant to have these kind of yellow petals that have red or very dark pink tips. This one is more of a light pink tip. It's very pretty, but I'm just not 100% confident if I have named it correctly. I mean, I went to all this trouble of doing my diagrams for all the beds, I was super careful labeling them when I transplanted the tubers into the pots. And then this is happening. It's very confusing. Here are the 4 bouquets that I put together last night and delivered to Tarmore Garden Centre this morning. Now at this stage I hadn't wrapped them up yet because I wanted to share with you a flower arranging tip when you're putting together a very large bouquet. Like, our hands can only handle so many stems, so if you need to construct a huge arrangement, what you can do first is put together several smaller, more manageable bunches, and then at the very end assemble them all together to get the desired bouquet. And here they are, all finished, wrapped up before delivery. Well, that's about it for this week, everyone. Thanks so much for sticking around until the end. If you are new to my channel, please consider subscribing. I put out a new video every Friday, and also from now on you may notice I've started to post a lot more YouTube shorts, and there's going to be heaps of them coming up this year. I'm really excited to share lots of gardening tips and tricks along the way, and you know, you guys in the comments always share your knowledge with me. I'm so fortunate to have such an awesome community here on YouTube. Anyway, I'm gonna head off. Thanks guys, see you again next Friday.